Okay, coordinate geometry. This mainly deals with straight lines. So you have to remember a little bit from year 7. So for example, if I wanted to plot the points A and B on the number plane, the point A is across 1 and up 2. So my point A is there. And my point B is 5, 4. So I will go across 5 and up 4. And my point B is there. I should be using a ruler, but we'll be able to work from here. So we've got our 2 points. Now there are 3 things we will need to find when we've got those 2 points. We need to find the length of that line, AB. I want to find the midpoint of that line and the slope of that line. Okay, so firstly the midpoint. Because we know our point A is 1, 2 and our point B is 5, 4, the midpoint is like the average. I'm going to call the midpoint M. Now, if I find the average of the x coordinates, so add them together and halve it, and I do exactly the same thing with the y values, add the 2 and the 4 together and halve that result, then that will find me the midpoint. So the midpoint ends up being 3, 3. If you have a look at the graph, if I go across to 3 and up to 3, that looks about right as well. Okay, the next thing is the slope. Another word for slope is gradient, and there's 2 R words for gradient, and that is rise over run, and that will tell you the slope of it. Now the rise between those 2 points, starting from here, it goes 1, 2. So the rise between those 2 points is 2, and the run is 1, 2, 3, 4. So my gradient, or my slope, rise over run, which is 2 over 4, and I can simplify that to a half. The last thing we want to find is the length of AB. Now, if you can see what I've drawn, there's actually a right-angled triangle there. So we can use Pythagoras' theorem. So the length of AB is AB squared equals one side squared plus the other side squared. And 2 squared plus 4 squared is 20. But that's what AB squared equals. We want to know what just AB equals. So we have to take the square root of both sides. So the length of AB is the square root of 20. If I leave it with the square root sign over it, that is the exact answer. There's one more type of line to have a look at, and that is horizontal and vertical. If I have this line here, it cuts the x-axis at 3. So the equation of that line is x equals 3. If I have a line here, cuts through the x-axis at -2, so the equation of that line is x equals -2. If I go the other way, say if I had a line across there, there, that goes through y equals 1, the y-axis at 1, so its equation is y equals 1. And if I had a line down here, it cuts the y-axis at -3, so its equation is y equals -3. The next thing we need to have a look at is an equation of a line. A straight line always has the form y equals mx plus c. The m is always the slope or the gradient. And remember the 2 R words, rise over run. The c is where it cuts the y-axis or the y-intercept. So, if I had an equation like y equals 3x plus 2, then the 3 is the slope or the gradient, And even though there's only one number there, it's really 3 over 1. So the gradient is 3, the rise is 3, the run is 1. Then, if I have this number here, 2, that is the y-intercept where it cuts the y-axis. So if I had to draw this equation, y equals 3x plus 2, I have to start with where it cuts the y-axis. Cuts the y-axis at 2, so I put a point at 2. Then from that point, I use the gradient. Now, the gradient is 3, which is really 3 over 1. So from that point, I go up 3 and across 1, and I put my second point. Now, to draw a straight line, you only need 2 points. So if I join those with a ruler, that is what the equation of y equals 3x plus 2 looks like. Now, the 3 is the slope. It's a positive number, so your line should be going up across the page. If you have something like y equals minus 2x plus 1, that line would go down across your page because the gradient is negative. So positive slope goes up across your page, negative slope goes down across your page.